let's talk modern F1. We've talked a little bit about Lewis Hamilton's almost unstoppability. You've driven the World Championship winning Mercedes, and you've had some insight into what makes them such a fantastically successful team. Can we drill down a little bit more into what makes Lewis such a fantastically successful driver? Because it's not just talent with him, it's application as well.
Well, I think first and foremost, he's just fast, isn't he? From the moment he's arrived into Formula One, he's just been sensationally fast. In his rookie season, he fought against Fernando Alonso, finished with an equal number of points, and only lost the championship by 1 point. I mean, you think of how nowadays you cut rookies some slack and say, oh, it's their first season, they're learning, etc., with, Albon or George or Lando. And you think back to when Lewis arrived in F1, he was fighting against Alonso, a double world champion no less at the time. He was the reigning double world champion. So that fundamentally he's just fast. But I think what's happened over time is because he's matured and he's gotten comfortable in his position and he's understood what makes himself tick and what works for him. He doesn't make any errors, really. We saw, I think, you could argue the one with Albon in Brazil, but by then the championship was done. For the most part, he's a clean racer. And when it comes to Saturday afternoon and qualifying especially, he's the one you're going to put money on to deliver that high-pressure lap in Q3. So, there's very few weaknesses in his armory anymore, and I think that's come with age and experience.
You'd think that at his age, because he's 35 now, someone will be kind of thinking about slowing down, or they would be getting slower. Lewis seems to be able to dig a little bit deeper, not just between seasons, but as the season progresses. We've seen time and time again in the past few years, Valtteri Bottas has sort of come into the summer kind of, in many places, almost on par with Lewis. Last year, in with a shout at the championship, and then Lewis has come back from the summer break, almost with a few tenths of a second in his pocket.
Yeah, and now it's actually no longer just a summer break. I think it's throughout the season. There's probably a third of the season where Valtteri's been able to genuinely match Lewis on a Sunday in particular. But for the other 2/3, he's just been that 2-3 tenths behind, and that's the difference between being first or second in the World Championship. Valtteri is a very, very fast racing driver. He's taken poles and taken victories, and I thought his qualifying lap at Barcelona, for example, last year was sensational. But when it came to Sundays, that's where Lewis is just able to deliver that relentless pace in a sort of Schumacher-Alonso-esque way.
What do you make of his vegan diet? Before I start talking about, do we have any vegans in the house? Are there any vegans here? Well, that's a good thing, because the cuisine in the NEC would disappoint their rarefied tastes. But
I had a vegan lunch.
Did you?
I did.
Here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Did you have the sweet potato?
Yes.
Oh, extraordinary.
It was quite nice. Yes. But there you go.
Yeah, been the same every day. Anyhow, do you think something like that genuinely helps, or is it a sort of psychosomatic thing, really, that if he thinks it improves him, it actually does improve him just through that belief?
Look, I think every human being, all of us here in this building are different. We're all wired differently, we all think differently, and we all have different things that make us tick in life and get us excited and get us out of bed in the morning to look forward to the day. And I think fair dues to Mercedes and to Toto Wolff to understand that what makes Lewis tick is completely different to the rest of the world, and they've given him the freedom to go off and do his fashion designing work and do his music and do his other projects that he does around the world. And all they care about is that on that 1 hour on Saturday afternoon and the 2 hours on Sunday afternoon, he delivers, and they don't care what he does in between. And automatically, that's given him the motivation to your earlier point, he's now 35, but he's not slowing down because he's got all these other things going on in life, which is keeping him stimulated and fresh. And it means when he arrives to do his racing job, he's still pumped up for it.
What actually amazed me over the off season was that not only was he allowed to do a bike car swap with Valentino Rossi, but it was actually encouraged and facilitated by his sponsor. Now, you'd think that Toto Wolff would draw the line letting Lewis loose around Valencia, which is quite a challenging circuit on a MotoGP bike, which is what, 240 brake horsepower. It's a pretty big beast. Apparently he did drop it, and you can do yourself quite a serious injury with something like that.
Yeah, you can, of course, but again, you know, those are the sort of things that keep him excited, and they appreciate the risks involved. I think I imagine Toto was quite nervous on the day and was waiting for the phone call at 6 o'clock to find out that his driver was still in one piece. But hey, you know, it was tremendous publicity, wasn't it? So why not?